Breaking tonight, the FBI calls it the largest fentanyl empire ever discovered on American soil. Ryan Wedding, now compared to Pablo Escobar.
At 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night, the FBI director stood before a wall of cameras and delivered 6 words that would fracture the American drug war wide open. "We have dismantled a global empire." Behind him, a digital screen displayed numbers so staggering they felt unreal. 2.1 million fentanyl pills, 17 tons of narcotics, $43 million in laundered cash, 18 simultaneous strikes across 3 countries, and at the center of it all, one name, Ryan Wedding, former Olympian, international fugitive, and architect of what federal investigators are now calling the most sophisticated fentanyl trafficking network ever discovered on U.S. soil. This is not a story about a drug dealer. This is a story about a man who built a fortress so vast, so deeply embedded into the machinery of international logistics that for years, no one even knew it existed until now. And what they found inside that fortress is worse than anyone imagined. 4:32 a.m. Los Angeles, California. The city is still wrapped in fog and neon glow. The 405 freeway hums with early morning truckers. Downtown sleeps under a blanket of cold marine layer. But in the Federal Command Center in Westwood, no one has slept in 72 hours. On a wall of monitors, red dots pulse across a digital map of Southern California. Each dot represents a location tied to Ryan Wedding's network. Underground warehouses in Vernon, suburban safe houses in Riverside County, storage units in Ontario, port access nodes in Long Beach and San Pedro, and beneath it all, a vast spiderweb of couriers, middlemen, truck drivers, dock workers, and cartel operatives moving fentanyl, methamphetamine, cocaine, and heroin through the veins of America's second largest city. Tonight, that web is about to be torn apart. At exactly 4:47 a.m., coordinated strike teams deploy across Los Angeles County, FBI, DEA, ICE, SWAT, Homeland Security Investigations, California Highway Patrol. Over 900 federal agents moving as one blade. The operation has a code name, Operation Iron Throne, and its objective is simple: dismantle every node, seize every gram, arrest every operative, and collapse the entire empire before sunrise. The first breach happens in Vernon, an industrial zone south of downtown known for meat-packing plants and anonymous warehouses. SWAT teams approach a corrugated steel building with no signage, no windows, just a single reinforced door. Flashbangs shatter the silence. The door explodes inward. Agents in black tactical gear flood the space, rifles raised, voices sharp and commanding. Inside, they find what looks like a legitimate shipping hub. Forklifts, pallets, shrink-wrapped boxes labeled auto parts. But when agents crack open the first box, they do not find brake pads. They find fentanyl, bricks of it stacked floor to ceiling, wrapped in vacuum-sealed plastic. Each brick stamped with a logo, a crown over crossed swords, the cartel's signature. In the back office, 3 men try to run. They do not make it 10 feet. Agents tackle them to the ground, zip-tie their wrists, and drag them into the floodlights outside. One of them is carrying a duffel bag. Inside, $340,000 in cash and 2 encrypted satellite phones. Simultaneously, another team hits a storage facility in Ontario, 40 miles east. They find a climate-controlled unit filled with industrial pill presses, dye mixers, and bags of fentanyl precursor chemicals shipped from China through Mexico. The machines are still warm. Someone was here hours ago. Agents seize 1.8 million counterfeit oxycodone pills, each one laced with enough fentanyl to kill. In Riverside County, a third team storms a 2-story house in a quiet cul-de-sac. Neighbors describe it as normal. A family home, but inside, agents find something else entirely. A drug fortress, steel-reinforced interior doors, surveillance cameras in every room, a hidden compartment beneath the garage floor containing 200 kilograms of methamphetamine and 17 handguns. Upstairs in a locked bedroom, they find a server farm, 6 commercial-grade computers running encryption software, connected to VPNs, routed through Panama, the Cayman Islands, and Singapore. And on those servers, they find the blueprints of Ryan Wedding's empire. 6:14 a.m. FBI Cyber Forensics Division, Los Angeles Field Office. Analysts work in near silence, cracking layers of encryption with tools most people will never hear about. When the first firewall falls, they see it. A master network diagram, codename Project Nightfall. It is not a drug operation, it is a global logistics empire disguised as one. The diagram shows shell companies in Canada, the United States, and Mexico, fake trucking firms, ghost freight brokers, sham import-export businesses, offshore accounts in Belize and the British Virgin Islands, real estate holdings in Vancouver, Los Angeles, and Guadalajara, cryptocurrency wallets holding $18 million in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and at the center, controlling every transaction, every shipment, every payment, is Ryan Wedding, former Olympic snowboarder, a man who once represented his country on the world stage, now a man who commands a fentanyl empire that moves narcotics by the ton. But the files reveal something even darker. Wedding is not working alone. He has partners, cartel operatives in Sinaloa and Jalisco who supply the fentanyl, corrupt logistics managers at the Port of Long Beach who falsify shipping manifests and delay inspections, warehouse supervisors who redirect containers before customs can scan them, truck drivers who haul loads across state lines, believing they are moving furniture or electronics, never knowing they are carrying death. And embedded within the network are enforcers, cartel sicarios responsible for eliminating threats. The files reference at least 4 murders tied to Wedding's organization, informants, rival dealers, a Canadian couple killed in their home because they owed money. This is not a drug ring. This is a transnational criminal enterprise operating with military precision and corporate efficiency, and it has been running undetected for over 6 years. One analyst, a veteran of the DEA's most complex investigations, stares at the screen and says it out loud. He built a machine, and he made it invisible. The FBI immediately escalates. If Wedding's network is this vast, the takedown has to be total. No half measures, no slow arrests, everything at once. 7:58 a.m., Joint Federal Task Force Command Center, downtown Los Angeles. Agents from the FBI, DEA, ICE, and California DOJ gather around a digital operations map. Hidden dozens of red markers pulse across Southern California, each one a known Wedding location, a warehouse in Compton, a safe house in Torrance, a logistics yard in Fontana, a truck depot in Chino, a stash house in Lancaster. The operation commander, a senior FBI agent with 23 years in organized crime, delivers the mission brief. Over 1,000 federal agents, 73 tactical entry teams, air support from ICE helicopters, mobile command units from DHS, California National Guard on standby for perimeter security. The objective: simultaneous raids on 41 locations across Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, and San Bernardino counties. They call it the largest coordinated strike against a single drug network in California history, and it launches in 90 minutes. At 9:30 a.m., the raids begin in Compton. SWAT teams breach a warehouse filled with industrial mixing equipment and barrels of fentanyl precursors. Agents seize enough raw material to produce 10 million pills. In Torrance, they hit a suburban home and find a hidden room behind a false wall. Inside, 300 kilograms of cocaine, vacuum sealed and ready for distribution. In Fontana, they storm a trucking yard and discover 2 semi-trailers with modified compartments built into the chassis. One trailer holds 1.2 tons of methamphetamine, the other holds cash. $9.6 million bundled in plastic, stacked like bricks. In Lancaster, a desert town north of the city, agents surround a sprawling ranch property. It looks abandoned, but infrared drones detect heat signatures inside. When SWAT breaks through, they find a fully operational drug superlab, fentanyl synthesis in progress. Ventilation systems, chemical storage, 6 workers in hazmat suits scrambling to destroy evidence. Agents detain them all. The superlab alone could produce 50,000 fentanyl pills per day, and it has been running for 2 years. By noon, the numbers are staggering. 17 tons of narcotics seized, $43 million in cash recovered, 62 arrests, 43 firearms confiscated. But the most critical find comes from a storage unit in Ontario. Inside, agents discover a steel lockbox buried under pallets of fake electronics. Inside the box, encrypted hard drives, financial ledgers, shipping logs, and a roster of corrupted insiders, port inspectors who took bribes, trucking company managers who rerouted shipments, warehouse staff who altered inventory records, and law enforcement contacts, not officers on patrol, but people with access, people who could warn Wedding when raids were coming, people who sold their silence for cash. Federal investigators begin cross-referencing the names. They pull phone records, financial statements, travel logs, and slowly the pattern emerges. Over the past 5 years, at least 19 individuals working in logistics, shipping, or border security received payments from Wedding's network. Some took $5,000, others took $200,000. They were paid to look the other way, to delay inspections, to lose paperwork, to forget what they saw, and in doing so, they allowed tons of narcotics to flow into American communities unchallenged. One customs officer in Long Beach is arrested at his home. When agents search his garage, they find $480,000 in cash hidden inside a tool chest. Another logistics supervisor is detained at the port of San Pedro. His bank account shows 14 deposits over 3 years, each labeled consulting fees. He has no consulting business. He has a criminal conspiracy, and now he has a federal indictment. Inside the FBI command center, investigators realize the full scope. Wedding did not just run drugs. He infiltrated the infrastructure. He turned ports into pipelines. He turned warehouses into fortresses. He turned legitimate businesses into cartel assets. And he did it so quietly, so carefully, that for years he operated in plain sight. One DEA supervisor puts it bluntly: this is not smuggling, this is colonization. He colonized our logistics system and made it his own. But even as the raids continue, one question haunts every agent in the room: where is Ryan Wedding? Now, despite the arrests, the seizures, the collapse of his network, the man himself remains a ghost. Investigators believe he fled to Mexico years ago. Some reports place him in Sinaloa under the protection of cartel leadership. Others suggest he operates from Jalisco, coordinating shipments through encrypted networks and intermediaries. Interpol has issued a red notice. The U.S. State Department has placed a $5 million reward on his head. But Ryan Wedding, the man who built a global drug fortress, is still free, and that terrifies federal agents. Because even with his network in ruins, even with his operators arrested and his assets frozen, they know one thing: men like Wedding do not stop. They rebuild, they adapt, they find new routes, new partners, new methods. And the machine he created, even broken, he leaves behind a blueprint for the next cartel kingpin ambitious enough to follow it. 3 weeks after the raids, federal prosecutors unseal a sprawling indictment. Ryan Wedding and 14 co-conspirators are charged with conspiracy to distribute fentanyl, methamphetamine, cocaine, and heroin. Money laundering, racketeering, murder in aid of racketeering, operating a continuing criminal enterprise. The indictment describes Wedding as the leader of a transnational drug trafficking organization responsible for moving multi-ton quantities of narcotics from Mexico into the United States and Canada. It details his use of encrypted communications, front companies, and corrupted insiders. It outlines his network structure: suppliers in Mexico, transporters in California, distributors in Canada, and enforcers who eliminated threats with extreme violence. And it estimates that over 6 years, Wedding's organization generated over $400 million in revenue. $400 million, built on fentanyl, built on addiction, built on death. The human cost is impossible to calculate. Every pill seized represents a life that might have been saved. Every ton of fentanyl stopped represents hundreds, maybe thousands of overdoses prevented. But investigators know that for every shipment they intercept, others get through. For every lab they shut down, another opens. The fentanyl crisis is not one network, it is a hydra, and Ryan Wedding's empire, as vast as it was, is only one head. But what makes this case different, what makes it so deeply unsettling, is how close Wedding came to achieving something unprecedented. He almost built a permanent system, a self-sustaining machine that could outlive him, a drug empire embedded so deeply into legitimate commerce that dismantling it would require dismantling the infrastructure itself. And if the FBI had not cracked his encrypted servers, if that one lockbox in Ontario had not been found, if even a few more insiders had stayed silent, Wedding might have succeeded. He might have become untouchable. That is the nightmare federal agents now face, not just Ryan Wedding, but the next Ryan Wedding, the next kingpin who learns from these mistakes, who builds better encryption, who recruits deeper inside the system, who understands that the future of drug trafficking is not violence and brutality. It is logistics, it is technology, it is invisibility. And the United States, with its vast ports, its sprawling highway systems, its complex supply chains, is the perfect environment for that kind of empire to grow. One senior DEA official, speaking off the record, put it this way: "We won this battle, but the war is evolving faster than we can adapt, and the next one will be smarter." As the investigation continues, federal agents work to dismantle what remains of Wedding's network. Bank accounts are frozen, properties are seized, co-conspirators are flipped, trading information for reduced sentences, encrypted communications are decoded, revealing new connections, new routes, new players. But even as the walls close in, Ryan Wedding remains free. And somewhere in a safe house in Mexico or a compound in cartel territory, he is watching his empire crumble, watching his partners fall, watching the federal machine grind his organization into dust. But men like Wedding do not break. They calculate, they plan, they wait. And when the heat dies down, when the task forces move on to the next crisis, they rebuild, because the demand never stops, the addiction never ends, and as long as fentanyl kills, someone will supply it. This is the story of Ryan Wedding's global drug fortress, a story of ambition, corruption, and catastrophic greed, a story of a man who turned the American dream into a cartel blueprint, and a story that is not over. Because even now, even with his network in ruins and his face on every most wanted list, Ryan Wedding is still out there, still free, still planning. And that is the terrifying truth federal agents must live with. They dismantled the fortress, but the architect is still drawing up new plans. Power does not always announce itself with violence. Sometimes it hides in shipping manifests, in encrypted phones, in suburban safe houses that look like every other home on the block. Sometimes it wears a suit, sometimes it speaks politely, and sometimes it was once an Olympian who represented his country with pride before choosing a different path, a darker path, a path that led to the deaths of thousands and the corruption of systems meant to protect us. Ryan Wedding built a machine designed to kill, and for 6 years it ran flawlessly. The FBI stopped it, but the blueprint remains, and the next builder is already out there studying Wedding's mistakes, learning from his downfall, preparing to build something even harder to detect. That is the war we are in. Not just against cartels, but against evolution, against innovation in the service of death. If you are still watching this, if this story shook you the way it should, tap the like button so more people see what is really happening. Comment exposed to any. If you believe these stories need to be dragged into the light, even when they are uncomfortable, even when they reveal how fragile our systems really are. Share this video if you think the world needs to understand that the fentanyl crisis is not just about addiction. It is about infrastructure. It is about corruption. It is about criminal empires operating at a scale most people cannot even imagine. And it is about men like Ryan Wedding who prove that the most dangerous criminals are not the ones who shoot guns in the street. They are the ones who infiltrate, who embed, who turn the system itself into their weapon. Every day, fentanyl kills over 200 Americans. Every day, cartels move tons of narcotics across our borders and into our communities. Every day the machine runs, and every day somewhere another Ryan Wedding is rising. The FBI dismantled this fortress, but how many more are out there still hidden, still thriving, still killing? That is the question that keeps federal agents awake at night, and it is the question we all must answer, because this is not just their fight, it is ours, and the enemy is not just a cartel. It is silence. It is apathy. It is the belief that this does not affect us, but it does. It affects every community, every family, every future stolen by a single pill laced with poison. Ryan Wedding's empire has fallen, but the war is far from over. And the next chapter is already being written.